The old King Jaehaerys got about 12 seconds total of camera time in that opening scene of House the Dragon. Funny enough, his old bonded partner Vermithor got about the same screen time in the finale, and will surpass his former master soon, because Jaehaerys has been dead for almost 30 years. But the lore books don't leave the poor old man out. He's a very prominent Targaryen, with about half of the book Fire and Blood dedicated to his long life as the best king the Seven Kingdoms has ever seen. That's not a controversial take. He's actually written as the best ruler by leaps and bounds. Partially thanks to having an equally competent queen helping rule beside him, his sister wife, the good Queen Alysanne, who was more involved in matters of court than any other king's wife. You can't talk about Jaehaerys and Vermithor without tying in their counterparts, Alysanne and her bonded partner, Silverwing. Vermithor hatched from a dragon's egg after being placed in Jaehaerys' cradle as a baby. He's got his older sister Rhaena to thank for that one. Didn't have to do the scary taming himself. Jaehaerys is the first ever to be part of this experiment by Rhaena. In 34 AC, just under 100 years before the Targaryen Civil War, she just had a gift working with animals. With her experiment with a Targaryen baby near an egg leading to an instant bond going so successfully, Rhaena did the same for their younger sister Alysanne in 36 AC. That dragon egg became Silverwing, and a tradition of placing eggs into Targaryen babies' cradles was born. An exciting breakthrough, but just as the new Targaryen dynasty was at risk of crumbling. The first king, Aegon the Conqueror, died right after Alysanne was born. Aegon's two sons, both who had short reigns, were not very popular. They couldn't carry the weight of his crown. It was Jaehaerys who saved the royal family and reinforced the people's belief in Targaryen supremacy. In order to keep incest alive and thriving in this family tree, Jaehaerys made an effort to convince everyone that Targaryens were closer to gods and exempt from regular religious taboos like incest. Jaehaerys really wanted to be with his sister Alysanne. I don't even think he knew the reason for their cultural tradition of marrying within the family. It's hinted that it keeps their blood magic flowing. Jaehaerys and Alysanne are Viserys and Daemon's only grandparents. The family tree doesn't spread very wide. Jaehaerys was 14 years old when he claimed the throne. A handsome youth, skilled with lance and longbow, and a gifted rider. More, he rode a great bronze and tan beast called Vermithor, and his sister Alysanne, a maid of 12, commanded her own dragon, Silverwing. This is the first mention of them being dragon riders. Their younger days were so chaotic, they never got to enjoy going on fun, leisurely rides. And then at 14 and 12, it was all business and no play from there on forward. It was uncertain times for House Targaryen. The first thing he did as king was forgive many of the men and families who fought against him. Some were hanged or sent to the wall, but for the most part he was very forgiving to past traitors who bent the knee. Jaehaerys, as of yet, had neither been crowned nor anointed, and was still shy of his majority. His pronouncement therefore had no legal force, nor did he have the authority to overrule his council and regent. Yet such was the power of his words and determination he displayed as he sat down looking upon them all from the Iron Throne, that Lords Baratheon and Valerion at once gave the prince their support, and the rest soon followed. There will be no trials, no torture, and no executions, he announced to them. The realm must see that I am not my uncle. I shall not begin my reign by bathing in blood. Some came to my banners early, some late. Let the rest come now. His family tried their best to call off the marriage between the preteen siblings, but they couldn't persuade Jaehaerys or Alysanne. Their Valerion mother remarried after King Aenys died, to Lord Rogar Baratheon. Having a Baratheon stepdad is exactly how crazy it sounds. Until he was of legal age to rule, Rogar had a lot of power as Hand of the King. The power got to his head immediately and wanted to take the crown away from Jaehaerys and give it to another Targaryen when he wouldn't call off his incest marriage. 14-year-old Jaehaerys being so strong-willed drove Rogar crazy. We were fools to crown Jaehaerys. He thinks only of himself, and he will be a worse king than his father was. Thank the gods that it is not too late. We must act now and put him aside. Vermithor was first used by Jaehaerys against his stepfather as a way to punish his attempts at treason. On the 20th day of the 9th moon of 50 AC, Jaehaerys Targaryen reached his 16th name day and became a man grown. By the laws of the Seven Kingdoms, he was now old enough to rule in his own right, with no further need of a regent. All across the Seven Kingdoms, lord and small folk alike waited to see what kind of king he would be. King Jaehaerys descended the Iron Throne and bade Rogar follow him. He led his lordship from the hall to the inner ward where Vermithor was being fed. A bull had been slaughtered for his morning meal and lay upon the stones charred and smoking, for dragons always burn their meat before consuming it. Vermithor was feasting on the flesh, tearing loose great chunks of meat with each bite, but when the king approached with Lord Rogar, the dragon raised his head and gazed at them with eyes like pools of molten bronze. "He grows larger every day," Jaehaerys said as he scratched the great worm under his jaw. "Keep your nieces and nephews, my lord. Why would I need hostages? I have your word, that is all I require." But the Grand Maester heard the words he did not speak. "Every man and maid and child in the Stormlands is my hostage, whilst I ride him," his grace said without saying. And Lord Rogar heard him plain. Jaehaerys was careful throughout his long rule to not be as weak as his father or as cruel as his uncle. He had to be more like Grandpa Conqueror. Just showing off his dragon was enough to walk that thin line, and Vermithor was intimidating with the nickname of the Bronze Fury. A very on-the-nose way to describe his appearance and nature. Vermithor was mostly used by the king for fast travel. A High Septon is the head of religious folk who follow the faith of the Seven, like how the Pope is at the top of all Catholics. Jaehaerys made sure to fly over to Old Town when a new High Septon had to be elected early into his reign. He also brought Alysanne and her Silverwing to make their presence known. The propaganda Jaehaerys had spread about Targaryens being above men was slowly working, but to make sure the faith didn't have another uprising against their ways, Jaehaerys and Alysanne influenced the vote to make sure the next High Septon add that extra line into the Holy Scriptures, that Targaryens are exempt from mortal laws. For years, the king and queen used their dragons for quick flights and royal progressions, so all the Seven Kingdoms can get a good close look at their powerful dragon lord rulers. Rarely did Jaehaerys have to resort to violence, but knew when to and was skilled. During the Third Dornish War, the king entered his first battlefield. The Dornishmen were really good at defying Targaryens, and then go run hiding in their Red Mountains. Vermithor took care of any exposed rebel camps with dragonfire. One of the men amongst the Dornish outlaws was Rogar Baratheon's younger brother, angry at his own Baratheon family since he would never be the head of the house. The now 27-year-old King Jaehaerys stopped Rogar from killing his own brother so that he wouldn't have to be considered a kinslayer. Jaehaerys did it himself with his Valyrian steel sword. Killing a Baratheon is a big deal, a bunch known for their fierceness and strength. This single combat victory and the swift end to the failed Dornish War won over every lord and commoner that didn't already love him for making the Seven Kingdoms a cohesive, functioning realm. The only other time Jaehaerys used Vermithor for battle was in 83 AC, once again against some Dornishmen. The king made sure to keep a close eye on Dorne. With the faith now cool with the Targaryens, the Martells were the biggest threat. A full-blown invasion was planned by the Prince of Dorne. 50-year-old Jaehaerys and 2 of his grown sons, all on their dragons, ended it before the Dornish ever landed. The Fourth Dornish War ended in a single battle, with the dragonfire doing the heavy lifting. Jaehaerys did fear that one day he would have to fly into battle again when he heard some of the family's dragon eggs were stolen. But those eggs never hatched in his lifetime. Dragons against dragons is something no one wants to see. So a mostly peaceful reign after a rocky and uncertain start. As for the bond between dragon and rider, it was mostly just duty. The books detail his love for his wife more than his love for his other partner. And Vermithor became the more dangerous of the pair to approach as opposed to its dragon girlfriend, Silverwing. Yeah, so their owner's traits might blend in with the beasts, just like the Starks and their direwolves. Vermithor and Silverwing are seemingly a pair since they coil together, just like their masters. And as opposed to Vermithor being more fierce, Silverwing is very approachable in dragon standards, just like the lovable Good Queen Alysanne. Unfortunately, the nice dragon didn't get an epithet like the Bronze Fury. Alysanne died in 100 AC at 64 years old, leaving Jaehaerys a broken man without her. His grief accelerated his aging, so he soon joined her in 103 AC at age 69. A very long reign and an even longer bond with a dragon. 69 years is the record as far as we know it. Both Vermithor and Silverwing are high priority picks for dragons to take control of in House of the Dragon, with the Civil War underway. They've been riderless ever since the death of their first and only masters. Being as old and large as they are, Vermithor has battle experience, Silverwing seemingly being easier to tame. Daemon is already making his move to bind Vermithor through song in the finale, where we got a glimpse of the bronze molten-eyed fierceness.